Hi, so chapter 6 of Gibbons discusses reading in a second language and culture, specifically the barriers and bridges of it. So essentially, the breakdown of this chapter, it begins by explaining how it's important to understand what we already know about something of the field or text and syntax of English. It helps us with the process of reading, which in fact it speeds it up. So because we don't have to decode each word one by one. Um, and this in-the-head knowledge has considerable implications for second language learners, specifically because they may not share the same cultural or field knowledge as the writer of the text, as well as they have another potential barrier because of the language itself. And this is because here we can see that the language system is also part of this in the head knowledge. Um, so what you already know about the topic is a key resource for reading. And then there's various reader rules, which Gibbons explains and breaks down as a reader as a code breaker, which is a reader needs to be able to engage in the technology of written script. Reader as text participant, the reader connects the text with his or her particular in-the-head knowledge, which I covered a little bit before. Reader as text user, so reader is able to participate in the social activities in which written text plays a major part and to recognize what counts as successful reading in a range of social contexts. And my particular favorite is reader as text analyst, which a reader reads a text as a crafted object that is written by an author who has a particular ideology or set of assumptions. So coming from a social science, social studies historical background, I find this aspect of reader roles very important because essentially all various historical documents, primary sources, things like that, they all have biases, like they're written by a particular person with a particular worldview and ideology, etc. So it's very important for us to understand and recognize these potential biases in the readings and also allow our English language learners to understand these as well. So implications for EL learners. So children's books in English are written with the assumption that their readers will be familiar with the cultural aspects of the story and will already be fluent in the spoken language. So it's important to keep in mind when using various readings and books for English language learners because they might not fully understand the cultural context of the story. But it's also important here, what I highlighted, this should not imply that teachers should avoid any books that contain unfamiliar content or cultural understandings, because if we do so, we are restricting what children read, and we're also ultimately doing them a disservice by presenting a reductionist and limiting curriculum. So we must make sure that we are still providing them with these texts that may be challenging for them, but we also are giving them the scaffolds and support to understand. So what a teacher does before a book is read represents significant scaffolding for reading with comprehension. So here we turn to the activities, like pre-reading activities, so activities for before, and then during the reading, and then post-reading, so after reading. So to jump right into the before reading activities, so right here we identify the barriers to reading. So as teachers, we must be familiar with the text before we even give our students the text. So this is crucial because we are able to then identify the linguistic, cultural, and conceptual difficulties that are the barriers for English language learners. And also the bridges are the interventions that occur through scaffolding that we provide and that enable our students to get over these barriers or hurdles. So I'm just going to go quickly through various activities that are provided for pre-reading. So predicting from a visual, which is one I really enjoy because I love illustrations and pictures. I'm a visual learner, so I really enjoyed that idea. Predicting the main ideas. I really like this as well because students are more engaged and interested when reading after they've made these predictions so that they can find out whether or not their predictions were right. And then here are some more, such as storytelling in the mother tongue, which is something I would love to implement as a future teacher, because I feel like it really does show children that all languages are a means of communication, and it really helps them develop respect and acceptance of other languages as well. And it's also connecting with parents parents or community and guardians if you have them come in and read for the students in their native language. during reading activities. So there's modeled reading, pause and predict, shadow reading, noticing visual layout and text features such as photographs, illustrations, graphs, charts, maps, and diagrams. Again, I'm a visual learner, so I really enjoy that as well. Skimming, scanning the text, rereading for detail. I really think it's important to have them underline or make note of words or phrases they don't understand, so they could go back to those later and we can ensure that they understand those. So these are some more, summarizing the text, jigsaw reading as well. I really enjoyed this idea just because I really have a strong passion for having students work collaboratively, especially in this case, there's readers of different levels working collaboratively. I find that very important. And then there's after reading activities. After reading activities require students to keep returning to the text and rereading it, which is very important for full understanding of the text. Here are some more. And then finally, this chapter concludes by discussing phonemes. Not sure if I'm saying that right. I apologize. And their importance, as well as implications for classroom activities. So here are some more, and how to build on phonemic awareness and develop that phonic knowledge for students. So specifically, children in the early stages of learning to read should never be expected to sound out words they have never met. So it's really important for us to help students develop phonic knowledge. And some ideas for choosing books. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.